Avengers Endgame is the perfect representation of every dumb comic book event storyline. It's got a bunch of characters, a big scope, a grand sweeping antagonist, and a plot that absolutely does not hold up under any scrutiny whatsoever. Yes, more so than possibly last year's Black Panther, I fully expect that there will be a big blowback on Endgame's quality in the months to come. Much like Black Panther, this is a cinematic event, perhaps even more so than BP was. And I'll admit it, even as someone who is supremely jaded about all comic book related media, even I found myself really impressed by the fact that this movie even exists. 11 years of storytelling along with 20 plus films leading up to it is absolutely an achievement worthy of some respect and praise. But I feel like once the hype wears down, once people start thinking about the movie, how it goes about advancing its own storyline where some of the characters are left off, I expect a lot of people to be disappointed and perhaps even angry at the film. And for good reason, because this film, despite having some really great moments, some interesting character stuff at the beginning, and genuine drama that does have some good payoff to it, Endgame is a mess. And it's a mess primarily because of a specific narrative device that it uses, and uses extremely poorly, possibly one of the worst uses of it I've ever seen in my life. Not only does it contradict multiple explanations of itself presented throughout the movie, even when it looks like it might make sense, you realize that it doesn't and that there's infinite plot holes all over the damn place, with far-reaching repercussions not just for the storyline but several character resolutions at the end. And it also doesn't help that the movie is very smug about its own utilization of this narrative device. Rhodey and Scott Lang both name off other films, TV shows, and storylines across the decades that have used this particular narrative device as an example of how it's going to work in their universe. Then Bruce Banner, acting as the mouthpiece for the screenwriters of Endgame, says, "Nah, that's all bullshit. This is how it's really done. This is how it really works." And then he proceeds to contradict his original explanation at multiple different points, and so does the fucking movie, making this movie not only seem stupid, but also very smug, while also being supremely stupid. Not really a great impression there. And it also doesn't help that this film did not need to be 3 hours long. You very easily could have cut out several of the gags, shortened several sequences by a good chunk, deleted scenes altogether, and you could have made this film about 15 to maybe even 20 minutes shorter than it already is. And it feels like this film is only 3 hours long because this is the big culmination of the first saga of the MCU. It has to be 3 hours long. It has to rival Lord of the Rings in one more aspect. So we're gonna do it even though it doesn't make sense for the storyline we're telling. It makes it a drag for our audiences to watch and does not endear it to assholes like me. Other issues include Ant-Man. Now, I know Paul Rudd is an extremely popular actor, but I have no fucking idea why. I've seen some of his other comedies and he's okay in them, but in almost every single Marvel movie he's ever done, his delivery of lines and jokes is so awkward, so cringeworthy, so poorly placed that I was hoping anyone would punch him really hard in the face throughout the film. He is easily my least favorite character in the entire MCU alongside Drax and Mantis, the three of them forming a veritable trinity of annoying douchebags I wish we will never see again, but unfortunately will, and I did not have a good time with him. Thanos is also considerably lamer in this outing than the last one. In the last movie, it looked like Marvel wanted to make an actual character along with a compelling antagonist. And while I myself have given criticisms of Thanos in the past, looking at how he's treated here makes his appearance in Infinity War look like the Dark fucking Knight by comparison. In fact, the biggest compliment I can give to Endgame is that it makes Infinity War look like a much better movie. Not only is Infinity War's script much less broken and messy than Endgame's, but that one had much more characters to deal with and utilized them much better than this movie did. And then we get to the character resolutions. While the character stuff in the first and even some of the second act is very strong and also helped by really great acting by mostly all of the cast, by the third act, it all kind of fizzles away. Character drama that could be cool is swept aside. Arcs that seem to be going somewhere don't really go anywhere, or don't even make sense with what's happened in the context of this movie, never mind the previous ones. And one character's resolution is so contradictory to everything that's been done with them so far, and even one of the messages of this movie itself, that it blows my mind and retroactively sours my enjoyment of them in all of the previous Marvel movies, because I see where they end up, I really don't care for it, and now all their other appearances are kind of fucked, even the ones I used to like. So yeah, that is Endgame in a nutshell. It's a mess. It's a mess that sometimes has great acting, really good utilization of the bleak situation, even some pretty damn good humor, and some strong character stuff at the very beginning and some in the second act, but ultimately it's all for nothing. And some people are going to say, well, Ivan, it's a comic book movie. Who cares if it shares some of the same problems as the comic books? I care because they shouldn't do that stuff. For all the love that comic books get from people, you have to realize, and this is coming from a guy who has read lots and lots of comic books have mastered and refined the art of bullshit, roundabout, lazy, contrived storytelling to a motherfucking art form unparalleled by anyone else ever. And while it can sometimes be fun and appealing, most of the time it squanders what good potential a story or character has because lulls genre conventions. And we should not translate that stuff, and we most certainly should not translate it to films that are going to make multiple billions of dollars at the box office, are going to be seen by millions of people worldwide, and are going to make some potential future generations of directors say, look at this, look at how it structured its plot. I know, when I grow up and go to film school, I'm gonna make a movie just like that. We are perpetuating bad comic book writing to other stuff, and we should not do that. We should expunge it from everywhere, comic books included. Because fuck your genre conventions if they squander good storytelling or hold it back. And I can find no better example of why we should do that than with Avengers Endgame, aka Big Dumb Comic Book Event, the movie.